Does that mean, like, let's say I want the blueprints. I'd have to just go play the dedicated mode and then keep trying to Covert Exfil until I get my weapons cases. And then once I've gotten all the blueprints, then I'm done. And then I go play normal BR. The problem with that is, if you have an experimental playlist and you have blueprint rewards that you can only get there, then you're gonna make the experimental playlist, it's gonna play way differently than if there was only one Warzone mode that happens to have Covert Exfils and weapons cases, just like the original intention was. Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are live, boys and girls. Welcome to Dropshot, Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 392. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I am joined by... You got everything matching today besides your ear cups, of course. Tanner. The cup is matching the long sleeve shirt. I'm a big fan of that long sleeve, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
It fits well.
It's I think it's Fresh Clean Tees. Great shirt brand.
Oh,
Great
okay.
Shirt brand. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some little advertisements from them.
Yeah, I love their stuff.
Anyways, welcome to the show. Today, we are doing an episode about Call of Duty, sort of. More specifically, there are a couple of things on the TL that we want to talk about, in addition, of course, to something from Raven on the TL that we got yesterday, in fact. Now, our original plan for today's episode was going to be to talk about whatever changes to Warzone we expected to get this week. Now, unfortunately for us, there were fewer changes to Warzone this week than we expected. I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but I was not expecting a single weapon nerf that wasn't quite enough, and that's all. I can say that, right? That's not what I was expecting. So that idea is obviously out, but luckily there is a lot to talk about in terms of the discourse on Twitter. And another reason we're doing this, in addition to, kind of out of necessity again, is because the last time we did a little Twitter deep dive, a Twitter discourse deep dive, you guys seem to enjoy that episode a lot. The feedback we got from our last Saturday episode, where we just talked about things that were very popular on the timeline, which I think was 2 weeks ago. So 388, I believe. We got a lot of positive feedback on that. We got a lot of engagement. So you guys seem to enjoy it. We enjoy talking about it. And that's what, again, we will be doing this week, today, right now, because there isn't really much else going on. With one exception, but we're going to talk about that as well. Yeah. So as a reminder, on Thursday, by then, our next episode, we will have had the launch of Season 1 Reloaded, and we will go over the patch notes, and there will be a lot to talk about there. And then on episode 394, we will be doing first impressions, and that should be chocked full of content and very fun and exciting. And I am looking forward to Season 1 Reloaded, by the way. But in the meantime, we've got some discourse to cover today. Get our little feet wet. So, other than that, as far as announcements go, once again, just a quick reminder to our patrons. Don't expect any COD-related bonus episodes this month until after we've gotten season 1 reloaded. I honestly don't think we're going to have one up until like the 22nd. Around there. Then we'll start pumping out that week all of our gold episodes, because again, we want to stay topical, and we're going to do all of our COD related bonus episodes this month on content that is recorded post season 1 reloaded, so that we're as up to date as possible for that. But in the meantime, we should certainly next week do a Q&A or behind the scenes for you Platinum or Damascus patrons respectively. And if that makes you, as a non-patron, hesitant to join, well, you'd still get ad-free, bud, and early access. And then you'd get the entire back catalog of bonus episodes we've ever done, and obviously all the bonus episodes we're going to do in the future. So check that out, patreon.com/thedropshot. I don't know when we're doing our hangout. Maybe next week.
It has to, yeah. We only got 2 weeks, so yeah, I'm thinking next week too. We'll see. We'll
see. We'll figure it out. Check our Twitter at the Dropshot Pod or the Discord, and we'll announce it then. Other than that, I don't believe we have any other announcements, do we, Tanner?
No.
Okay. So if you're listening for the jingle, here it is. Just jingling, brother.
Okay.
I love that little beep. Such fantastic work from our producer.
Okay.
All right, boys and girls, welcome to the Dropshot episode 392. So, as I just said, today we're going to be talking about a lot of discourse about COD, relating to COD, that's been happening on the timeline, and we will, as we've started to do, and we'll probably continue doing, because I enjoy talking about this stuff a lot, and you guys seem to enjoy it as well. Although, as always, give us your feedback if that changes. In addition, to start, before we get there, before we throw our 2 cents in, before we throw our hat in the ring, any other aphorisms? Anyway.
No.
Okay. We have a tweet from Raven Software, and we're going to start with this first, because this is, frankly...
Wow.
Quite surprising to me.
Breaking news, yeah.
And I do have some questions, as you've alluded to in the notes here. Yeah. Because I don't know exactly what this means. But here's the tweet. This was from Raven Software on the morning of the 12th. So this was 2 days after the Season 1 Reloaded blog post was released, in which they gave us some more details on Covert Exfils. And for those of you who may not remember, the original intention was Covert Exfils were going to be a way in regular Warzone BR for a team to extract early from the game. And after that blog post, a lot of people were upset about it. We were sort of in that camp as well, as you can hear in our last episode. And as a result of this pushback, we got a very surprising little tweet on the 12th again from Raven. Over the last few days, we've seen your feedback about the Covert Exfil feature and have decided not to launch it in standard BR with Season 1 Reloaded next week. Wow. We believe that Covert Exfil and the gameplay loop it provides, paired with the weapons case, will make for an exciting addition to Warzone. Okay. With that said, we will instead launch both of these features in an upcoming dedicated mode. We're looking forward to the new challenges that these features will provide and to your continued feedback once the mode is available. So, a couple of thoughts I had when I saw this. My first thought was, which I've been thinking a lot since the integration, W Raven, and W Ted, Wed Women's. In other words, they heard a lot of negative feedback surrounding this feature that they planned on implementing, and people got so mad about it that in the course of literally 2 days, they said, okay, we heard you, never mind. That is, and let me once again contrast this with Infinity Ward, right? If this was an Infinity Ward feature, if Infinity Ward was in charge, there wouldn't be a tweet. There never would have been a tweet. There probably wouldn't have even been a blog post. But if there had been, they certainly wouldn't have listened to feedback and 2 days later said, okay, we heard you, never mind. They might, what they might have done, which they did from the beta to launch of MW2, is say, hey, we heard your feedback about...
And MW19.
And MW19, of course, yes. Hey, we heard your feedback about red dots on the minimap in MW2 based on the beta. Overwhelmingly, you guys want red dots on the minimap in MW2 based on the beta and the feedback you've provided us after that beta. And this is what they said in a blog post. However, we don't care about you and we're not changing it. So Infinity Ward said, we heard your feedback and we actually don't care. We're not changing it anyway. And they never did. There were never, and to this day, there are not red dots on the minimap in MW2, despite the fact that that's what everyone wanted. And Infinity Ward admitted that they've seen the feedback, that they know that's what everyone wanted. They still said, go yourselves. Fantastic. Yeah. Raven, on the other hand, actually cares. And they said, oh, okay, we heard your feedback. Unlike Infinity Ward, right? We will just not do it. We'll do what you guys want, since after all, you're the consumer, you're the ones playing the game, so it's only your feedback that matters, not ours. So, number one, big W. Raven, big W Ted. The second thought I had was, how do you have Covert Exfil and Weapons Case in a dedicated mode? What does that mean? Is it just going to be one playlist is standard BR and then another playlist is standard BR except there are weapons cases and Covert Exfils? That seems really bizarre and weird to me. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like they're making some sort of mode where, like, you probably start as trios. Maybe they're going to let you assimilate. There may even be AI on the map or something like that. You know, you can take these Covert Exfils, you can get these weapons cases and extract with them, and then then you go into the next game with what you extracted from. That's what I think they're making, which is DMZ, yeah. So they're simply recreating DMZ, it sounds like.
So you think there will be more differences in this dedicated mode they're referring to than just the Covert Exfil and weapons case?
I think so. There's got to be some other changes. Yeah, there just has to be. That's
kind of what it feels like, right?
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense to have a separate mode just for those things. It seems too similar.
Exactly. Like, just, yeah. So that's why I'm like, I have no idea what they would use or what they would do. There's no point in even guessing, because whatever we guess is just probably entirely wrong. But I really don't think it would be the same mode just with Covert Exfils and weapons cases. Yeah. My other thought was maybe they're just saying we'll launch both of these features in an upcoming dedicated mode, meaning it'll just never come. They'll just like pretend they never talked about this and we'll never see it and nobody will ever care. That is my other thought. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I can't see this mode being popular if nothing else is different with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you want to play Battle Resurgence? Or do you want to play the mode where people can Covert Exfil and nothing else is different?
Yeah.
Why would I ever queue for that? Ever. I don't care about the weapons cases. Most people aren't going to. I don't think. So I'm not sure. I guess it kind of depends what the weapon case item actually is. That kind of changes things. But yeah, I'm honestly kind of thinking they'll just never release this. Because also, like, sure, they spent time developing this, but did they really? These were already in DMZ. This game is already just all reused assets from Warzone last year. It's not like this is a whole new Warzone experience, like going from Warzone 1 to Warzone 2. So
yeah,
it kind of makes me think that, like,
they'd be willing to scrap it.
They didn't really waste development time, because exfils and weapons cases already exist in DMZ right now if you play Warzone 2.
Right.
So I kind of see them just pretending they never had this idea, honestly. If we don't see this within 3 weeks from right now, it's never coming, ever.
You mean if we don't see it in normal BR?
If we don't see this new dedicated mode they're talking about within 3 weeks, we'll just never get it.
Oh, well, they're going to launch the dedicated mode on the 17th.
No, they didn't. They're just saying in an upcoming dedicated mode. That doesn't mean anything. They're not saying it's going to launch with the season reloaded. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, we're going to add the choppers back in with guns at a later time when we fix them, and then they just don't. That's what I'm saying. This sounds like that to me, like we'll never actually see this added. Or they'll find a way to get the weapons case in regular battle resurgence in Warzone, and the exfil thing just won't exist. But they'll find a way to make it so you can earn weapons cases still by doing a contract or something, but the actual covert exfil is just not in the game.
Or just have the weapons case on the map, but no covert exfil. So if you want it, you have to pick it up and then like literally win the game. Yeah. By the way, one thing I'll mention that shout out to some guy in Discord, by the way, that gave us a little feedback. Who was this? Oh my goodness. I can't find it. But anyway, so whoever you are, you know who you are. Someone in Discord said, by the way, in DMZ, when there was a weapons case, it wouldn't have one weapon blueprint as a reward. It would have like 7. So it would be one of 7 rewards.
Yeah, they were random. Yeah, we did the weapons cases a few times for that. Yeah, it was different every time.
Okay, so that would make... So I just wanted to point that out because I had said originally, like, once you get the weapons case once in Covert Exfil, you're not going to care to do it again. But if there are like 4 blueprints on launch, well, then you would have to do it a lot to unlock all of them. So it would be like way more used than I had originally said. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, so like what you said, I kind of feel that way on one hand. If you just have a separate mode and the only difference is covert exfils and weapon cases, it doesn't seem like distinct enough of a mode to warrant its own dedicated playlist.
Exactly.
You know, it's not different enough. Like Warzone and Plunder are different enough to warrant like 2 separate playlists, but this alone wouldn't necessarily be that way. However, the reason I don't necessarily think that's true, on the other hand, we did have, even this year in MW3, the experimental playlist. And literally the only difference in the experimental playlist from regular multiplayer was a red highlight around enemies for better enemy acquisition in multiplayer. So if we were to think of this dedicated mode they're talking about as an experimental playlist like multiplayer, well, then I could totally see them doing it. Because it would be exactly like the experimental playlist we've already seen this year in multiplayer. The fact that that does set some precedent leads me to believe I think they will, in fact, do the dedicated mode and those be the only differences. I don't think they would also add like AI and strongholds and stuff. I think it would be just those 2 things. I think they'd be willing to do it. However, another question is, if they do that, let's say on launch day of Season 1 Reloaded, we get this dedicated mode immediately. So you can queue for normal Warzone, or you can queue for Warzone plus covert exfils and weapons cases. Does that mean, like, let's say I want the blueprints, I'd have to just go play the dedicated mode and then keep trying to covert exfil until I get my weapons cases. And then once I've gotten all the blueprints, then I'm done. And then I go play normal BR. The problem with that is if you have an experimental playlist and you have blueprint rewards that you can only get there, then you're going to make the experimental playlist, it's going to play way differently than if there was only one Warzone mode that happened to have covert exfils and weapons cases, just like the original intention was. Because if that was going to be the case, there would still be a subset of players in every lobby who didn't care about the weapons case and they wouldn't engage with it or covert exfilling. But if it's in a dedicated mode separate from normal Warzone, then every single player who queues for the experimental playlist is going to want the weapons case and to covert exfil. And that is going to make it play way worse than having two separate modes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that
would be a good
play
test?
A lot worse. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
well,
that's
the
what
thing.
I'm
Yeah,
worried
it's
about.
not going to be. I don't think they would launch it like as an experimental playlist because they're not experimenting with adding this into the main mode. I think they've already made up their mind on that probably. But that's why, yeah, it's like something else would have to be different because you're right. It'd be like we don't know exactly how it would work, but if like the whole lobby would be landing on the weapons case, right?
Exactly.
Everyone would be trying to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be like, as people kind of start getting killed and that there's only like, let's say it's quads, there's only one guy left, he wins his gulag and comes back. They're like, well, let's just leave and re-queue. And then the lobby's going to die even faster. It would play
terrible.
Awful. Yeah. It would play worse than in pub. So I don't know what they do with this. That's why I'm like, just scrap the whole idea if you're going to do it that way. I don't want this, and I don't think it would play well at all in Warzone. However, at this point, I would have rather them just left it in and made a tweet that was like, hey guys, we hear you moaning and complaining on the TL constantly about the Covert Exfils. We want to try it. We're going to try it for 1 week. Next Wednesday, we'll revisit this and see what the general player base is thinking about this, and we will go from there. Either we'll remove it entirely, we'll put it into a separate mode, we'll remove it and make some changes, and it'll come back in the game in season 2.
Totally agree.
I would have rather just tested it at this point, even though I'm almost positive I don't want it. I would have rather just had the ability to play it myself and try. But, you know, from a dev perspective, maybe that is a lot more work and that doesn't make sense because it's like now they can just leave it out of their reloaded update, whereas before it's probably something to do with development resources and time spent adding it to the big update and then just to remove it maybe
and creating
a week later.
The blueprints too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they don't just do something like that. But I don't really know what else we're going to get in season 1 Reloaded because this seems to be the thing they've been teasing the whole time. So now we're going to get like maybe no content and just some weapon balancing, I guess. I don't know.
I know. Yeah.
Like, see, even with Raven in charge, it's still just like, granted, it's been the holiday, but it still just feels like we're never getting Caldera Raven back. And it's obviously not up to them. It must be something to do with Activision. Like, it seems to just be we're going to get updates on the launch of the season and the season Reloaded, and that's it. No more weekly updates like we had in Caldera from Raven.
I don't know. I'm not quite there yet, but maybe I'm there. Well, I don't know. No, they've done a pretty good job, dude. They nerfed the snake shots right away before the break.
Well, those are like obviously broken things. And I'm saying like we would have just small tweaks and changes every single week to all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see, I guess. But either way, I agree with you. I think what they should have done is exactly what you said. They make a tweet, and people would have been fine with that, I think. And say, again, like you said, like, hey, we hear all the massive negative feedback. However, we're just going to try it for a couple days, and if you still hate it, we'll remove it. We promise. And we would actually believe Raven. I would believe them if they said that, because they're obviously would be willing to do that. So like that, I think would have been fine, because if you have it in 2 separate modes, again, it's not going to be a good test, because people who don't care about the weapons case are not going to queue for that mode. So you're going to have a disproportionate number of people trying to covert exfil in the dedicated playlist, Whereas if it was all just one playlist, then you would have an appropriate number of people, a representative rather number of people trying to Covert Exfil per match, because every match would have some people who don't care about it. So I think this is I like that they're listening to feedback, and I like that they're trying to do the right thing, and they're trying to do good by the player base. That their intentions are obviously good, and I like that. However, I don't think this is the way to do it. I think what Tanner suggested would have been the way. Like, hey, we hear you complaining. We're going to try it anyway. And we will remove it in literally a day if you guys all hate it that much. But let's just see how it plays, because maybe it plays better than you guys think it will. And by the way, that is entirely possible, because we don't know all the details on how exactly it's going to work. So it could have been the case that it would actually make the mid game way more fun, because it would create like a hotspot where people know to go. And also Covert Exfilling costs 80,000. So not that many people are doing it. So the lobby stays just as healthy. Like, I'm not saying that would have happened. I find it unlikely, but it's possible. We don't know because we haven't tried it yet. So unfortunately they're going this route. But again, I just like that they at least care. You know what I mean? But we also don't know what this dedicated mode is going to entail exactly. Tanner could be right. They could have more things in it than just weapons case and Covert Exfil. And we don't even know when we're getting it, because I just assume we're getting it on launch day of Season 1 Reloaded, but maybe not, like Tanner also mentioned is possible.
I don't think so, because I don't think they're going to do all that in a matter of like 3 working days before the new season update comes out. That's why I'm like, there's no way it comes out in the launch.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I feel like if it's not within a few weeks, we just won't ever see it, honestly. Because like, I don't even know, because we've yet to play zombies. Does zombies have weapon cases? Because I was like, what? Because like somebody in chat said something about zombies. I'm like, yeah, they could just add it there, but they do say make an exciting addition to Warzone. Yeah. And zombies is like tied to multiplayer, so I guess it wouldn't be that either. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe maybe they would add it to Plunder or something. Covert Exfil from Plunder with weapons cases.
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
It would work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Plunder players are the ones that want a Covert Exfil, and they want weapons cases anyways. So that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, something they could do as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have another tweet here related to this from Geeky Pastimes. He's a zombies nerd. He says, one thing I was excited about with Season 1 Reloaded isn't launching with the update, because people who wouldn't have been affected by it were upset about it. I swear some people want just the blandest Call of Duty imaginable. Am I the only one that likes new things? Like I said on Thursday, this is an awful take, because this can and quite possibly could have affected everyone else in the lobby. Yeah. That was our main argument as to why this could be very stupid. If 5 teams are Covert Exfilling every match or something, that's going to make my experience worse. Like, just a miserable, awful trash take. So I just wanted to point that out. Another bad take from a zombies main. Just miserable. Yeah. I hate it. I read that and I hate it.
That is a terrible take. Yeah, his argument is that, like, oh, if you don't want a Covert Exfil, just don't do it. And and therefore, it won't affect you. Hey, man.
So stupid.
If you and 2 other teams in quads just leave in circle 3, that does affect me. You idiot. Duh. Yeah, it obviously affects everyone in the lobby. That's an insane take. So, anyways. Yeah, but other than that, on that topic, that's pretty much it. The TLDL, I guess, is I love seeing the devs actually listen to player feedback and communicate with the player base and actually change how the road of development of the game based on that feedback. I think those are all really good things. However, having a separate dedicated mode is just not going to work in terms of testing how this plays, I don't think. Because again, if I don't care about the weapons case, I'm never going to queue for that dedicated mode. So then everyone in the dedicated mode is going to be trying to Covert Exfil, and if they can't get the weapons case, they'll just leave the match, and it's going to play, and it's of course going to play terribly for that reason. And then people are going to have a more negative opinion on the weapons case than they otherwise would, because they're going to have this bad experience with it. So I don't think this was the way to go, but you know what? The worst case scenario is this. Weapons case and Covert Exfil would have actually made regular BR more fun, but because they tested it in its own mode, it gets scrapped and we never see it, and then we miss out on a feature that could have been fun that we just won't get anymore. That's the worst case scenario, and honestly, Warzone's fun enough already, so that wouldn't be the end of the world if we missed out on something good. I would rather that didn't happen, but this is not a game-breaking omission, so whatever. Not the end of the world. And again, I just really like that they're listening to the player base, so that's pretty much it on that topic. So now we're going to move on to...
Yeah, there's just a little one here that I saw.
Yeah, well, a couple little things happening on Twitter here. And these are in no particular order. It's just kind of what's being talked about a lot right now, relating to Call of Duty. And we're going to throw in our 2 cents on all of these things while we wait for an update with new content, Season 1 Reloaded. What is this first little tweet here?
First one I saw, there's been a lot of talk going around with the CDL. So I guess the first thing I didn't put in here is, I guess there are only 2 Challengers tournaments this year, like LAN tournaments, which, if I'm not mistaken, Challengers, those are the players that are trying to compete in the CDL. It's like the amateur league. So it's a bunch of teams. The kids are really good. They go to LANs when CDL has LANs, and they play, like, I think Challengers there, basically. Their own little tournament. They're just not on, like, the big stage or anything. And, you know, players eventually get picked up, put on CDL rosters, stuff like that. So I guess they're doing 2 Challengers tournaments this year, and that's it. And I guess there are usually, like, it sounds like almost 8 or something like that. So that was a hot discussion going around, org owners and like Scump were talking about like CDL is just like killing the Challengers League. Essentially, they don't care about it, yada yada.
What constitutes an event? Like a LAN, like an in-person
I'm pretty
thing?
sure, yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I don't know if their online remains the same or if it would just LAN. I don't know. I didn't look too closely into that one, but I just saw I saw this tweet because of that.
Okay.
So yes, then this next one here is talking about the number of Call of Duty events. And when they say events, yeah, these are like big LAN tournaments put on by the organizers, which now is the CDL, the Call of Duty League. So yeah, so going back like 2013 with COD Ghost, there were 18 LAN tournaments. The next year with Advanced Warfare, 24 tournaments.
That's crazy.
That is that's like almost 3 LANs every single month.
Yeah. Like 3 or 4 LANs a month.
For that game's life cycle, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Black Ops 3, 16 LAN tournaments. Infinite Warfare, 14 LAN tournaments. World War II, 12. Black Ops 4, 14. Then, of course, we had COVID. I don't know I guess probably MW19, Vanguard, and Cold War. Were there any? They may have all been online during that time. I think they were.
I think
all
of
them
know.
were, which is probably why he hasn't put them here. So then, again, we go from like between 12 and 18. MW2 last year, they had 7 tournaments. This year, there are 5 scheduled LAN tournaments, and that is it.
Yeah.
Which is frankly unbelievable for a $15 million buy-in to the league, and they're getting 5 LANs the entire game's life cycle.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know what that means, if you want to... if you're an organization like LA Thieves and you want to participate in the Call of Duty League, every single year you have to pay, I remember the last time we talked about it, $30 million just to be in the league every year. So maybe that number's down now to 15 million. Whoop-de-doo. That's an incredible sum of money. Obviously, especially having to do it every single year. And then they're still only willing to rent out this year 5 spaces for LANs. Now, obviously, running a LAN tournament is super expensive. You have to hire, first of all, you have to rent the venue, which I'm sure is a lot of money. Probably like 20 racks more. I don't know. I'm not an event organizer for Activision.
More than that. You spend more than 20 grand on a wedding venue, so it's definitely more than that.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, you're talking probably hundreds of thousands. Yeah. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. To rent the whole weekend, a big stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it is for a whole weekend too. Let's call it 500,000. It's probably not that much, but let's call it that. 500,000 times 5 is 2.5 million. This is, I mean, what? About 10% of one team in your league's buy-in cost. So, okay, you've covered that cost just with your franchising fee or whatever. Not franchising, but your participation fee. And then, you know, also, again, it would be more expensive too because you'd have to hire like the film crew. You would have to.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of people that work on that behind the scenes.
Yeah, just all the behind the scenes. You'd have to hire the casters and all that stuff. But on the other hand, if any of you have ever watched a CDL event, you know this. Each event is chocked absolutely full of ads. So they're recouping all of that money back with G Fuel and Doritos and Burger King ads or whatever you get to watch 1,000 times over the course of a 2-hour event, to be clear. So like them not having enough money, I mean, I don't know all the intricacies. There are certainly other costs associated with running the CDL.
Oh, yeah.
But still, is it that much not worth it to have this few in-person events?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure maybe a few months ago we talked about CDL did a bunch of layoffs too. I think we had talked about that, how a bunch of them were laid off. So I think it is like we've talked about it a few times over the last couple of years, but like I really think the CDL just will not exist in a few years. It's really going down that trend. I also think
we've talked about this. Yeah.
Now, like, people don't want other people to be good at video games. Like, I was just scrolling Twitter before the pod and I saw Strafe, the Strafe clip. You know, Strafe, really good K-Bam player. He's insane at the game. Very talented. And some guy retweeted it and he was like, this guy was not joking, by the way. I went to his account. It was a real tweet. He was like, all I want to do is get off my 9-hour shift and play the game, and I have to go against these people. It's like, first of all, no, you don't. There's skill-based matchmaking. You have half of a KD, right?
You certainly will.
You're not in his lobbies. Yeah. Trust me. You're not in a lobby with Strafe. You'll never see that. But it's like, no one respects good players anymore. Just nobody cares. And it's very weird to see. And like, gaming is just so casual now and everybody does it that they like seriously don't want players to be better than them. So like all these casuals now watching the CDL, they don't care. And more people get into gaming, they don't generally care. It's like people don't want other players to be better than them. It really does come down to that. They want to just be able to like play their game and not have somebody that much better than them even existing, which is wild because I've been playing PC games since 2006. It was never like that. It was never, ever, ever like that. Now, it could just be because we're in the COD community now, which is like the most casual gaming community of all. So maybe that's probably part of it too. But it's like, it's just so weird to see how you can complain about somebody else being better than you. And they really think that he can just not be that good. But it's just, people don't get that. It's hard to not be that good when you are that talented. Like, how do you purposely just mess up and play bad? It doesn't make any sense. But
I agree.
That's what these people want. They expect you to be worse than you are. It's like, sorry for being better at the game than you. It takes more work to try to be bad at the game. Like, some people are just naturally way more talented at gaming than you are. So
that's what I never understand when people say that stuff.
I hate
that is such a good point. It's like, okay, if I'm like, let's take something that doesn't require any, like, it requires some skill, obviously, but not that much. Like, let's say you are in high school and you are on the track team and you do the 100-yard dash. That's like your little event. And then some kid, transfers to your high school and he also runs track and he happens to just run really fast. What do you want him to like? It's not his fault. He runs fast and there's nothing he can do to not be a fast runner other than like purposely run slower. Why would anyone do that? It doesn't make sense. Like, hey, sometimes someone's better than you at Call of Duty and you complaining about it makes no sense because what is that person, like you said, supposed to do? Just not be good? It's like, okay, I see a guy to my left. I can easily aim at him right now and just kill him, but I'm not going to because it would be more fun for me that way. Well, no, that's not true. It wouldn't. It would be more fun to you to just play normally. And if you play normally and you happen to be really good, like literally what is Strafe supposed to do if he's too good at the game?
Yeah.
What does that person expect him to do? Just not play normal?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense. Now, there is another different criticism people will have sometimes, and I want to point out that this is different. We talked about this. In the beta for MW3, there was a viral clip going around of some kid who happened to stream. He was I don't want to call him a streamer because he was streaming to like 5 people. He's not a streamer. He's some guy who is playing the beta that has a Twitch stream. And someone found the Twitch stream and it was in the beta. They were playing Dom or Hardpoint rather. And they were just calming like crazy in voice. He was like, oh, he's rotating. He's rapping. He's on the truck or whatever, like giving crazy CDL call outs, using only the MCW with meta attachments, using like trophy system, even though like no one was doing that in the beta, just super try-harding. On their team, their whole team was try-harding to win games in the beta. People made fun of that kid. We were in that camp as well. To be clear, the reason I bring this up is because there is a difference between that type of try-harding and simply being good at the game. Mm-hmm. If that kid just aimed really well and won Hardpoint because he was way better than everyone at aiming and shooting his gun, and he happened to win every game because he's so much better that way, that no one would be mad. Well, some people would be mad, I guess, like we just talked about. But I wouldn't be mad. It's not that guy's fault that he's really good at aiming and shooting the gun. But it is his fault for sweating and doing call outs and trying to win the game that way in a beta. Those are like different. Does that make sense? Am I making sense, Tanner?
Yeah. So yeah, it's like a 3-day beta. Yeah, that's different. That's a lot different. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not what Strafe is doing. Strafe isn't a tryhard because he's getting a pre-made of all of his good friends and trying to win every single game of pubs. He's a tryhard just because he's good at shooting and aiming and positioning, which is totally different. So, yeah, anyways. To take this back to the CDL thing, is the CDL dying? Well, fewer LAN events would suggest that the CDL is dying. Yeah, for sure. And one thing I really lament is, because normally what I would do right now is I would say, okay, well, I wouldn't do it. Someone would have done it and then I would pull up the numbers. But one could be like, okay, what was the viewership like? What was the average viewership on the Call of Duty official Twitch stream for all of the events for 2013 Ghosts? So you take those 18 live streams, you take the average concurrent viewers of each stream, average those out, you'd get a number. Let's call it 30,000, whatever. And then you would compare that to MW2, the 7 events. Average the concurrent viewers, compare them, and see if the CDL actually is dying or not. Unfortunately, you can't really do that. Now, to be clear, you could do it. The numbers are available. They're just meaningless though, because the CDL viewership numbers are massively inflated because of Twitch drops and YouTube drops. And people will have these pulled up on a second monitor while they're doing something else with it muted just because they want the drops. Or they're pulling it up and mowing their lawn and not watching it all. So even though they count as a viewer, they're not actually watching, and they wouldn't be there if it weren't for Twitch drops. But they really want double weapon XP tokens, for example. I've done this myself, by the way. I've watched CDL streams just for Twitch drops. So I'm a viewer number that they would not have otherwise gotten. So you can't compare the numbers, or you can, but it wouldn't be representative of how popular the CDL is now versus before, because they're just, again, massively inflated because of drops. And I know this because I do it myself. Many people I talk to do it as well. Tanner as well. And also you can just look at video games where people stream and compare when there are drops to when there are not. So like, for example, Escape from Tarkov. That's a game Tanner and I have been playing lately. And we've played it on and off for years now, I guess. They did a week where they had Twitch drops for a bunch of Tarkov streamers. When a Tarkov streamer, any Tarkov streamer, let's say Tiggs, when he didn't have drops, he averages 400 viewers, let's say. But when he did have drops, he was averaging 4,000. Like, it's obvious that Twitch drops will massively inflate viewer numbers.
Oh, yeah.
So we can't tell how popular CDL is now for that reason, unfortunately. And further, neither can Activision. Activision doesn't know how many viewers they would have if they didn't do Twitch drops, because they always do them. So like, even they don't have the data on that. So then the question is CDL actually dying? I would venture to say maybe, but I'm not the guy to ask because I was never into watching CDL. So I'm not plugged into that community of people who like to watch CDL. I haven't been for years, so I don't have my finger on the pulse of what they are feeling. You know what I mean? But my intuition tells me it is dying. Why else would there be fewer events year after year? I mean, COVID would be one reason, sure, but not in 2022 or 2023 or 2024. I don't think you would be able to use that excuse anymore. So I don't know why there would be fewer in-person events.
Yeah. And it's like the player base just keeps going up because, as I said, gaming has never been more accessible and casual as it is right now. It only becomes more popular.
Right.
So it's just like you're getting more and more people involved in playing the game, but less people interested in stuff like that. And it really is like, yeah, it's just people don't want other players to be good at the game, I think. So, because it's funny because you always
think everyone's cheating too.
Yeah, like Nate is a good example of people. Like some random kid will see Nate's TikTok clip, and he'll be like, "Streamers like this have ruined like Call of Duty." It's like actually. He's been playing a lot longer than you. You've ruined it, if anything. He's just always been that good. It's just people like you now get angry that he's that much better than you. It's like, you're just such an idiot. It's just so many stupid arguments. But yeah, it's just funny that we get less LANs now because back then everyone was on console and nobody was cheating and they had LANs 3 times a month.
Yeah.
And now every Challenger's kid is soft aiming on his PC and they don't have LANs anymore.
So cheating gets
it's
worse.
Just going to be less competitive because you don't know what these kids are doing on their computers.
Of course. Yeah.
So
totally
we
agree.
get like from their perspective, probably also like back then, well, it was for sure a lot cheaper to do LANs back then. They had to have consoles versus computers. There's a big difference right there as it is. But it's like the internet connections have gotten better. So they're like, oh, online tournaments are fine now. But the cheating situation has probably gotten worse, you know?
Yeah.
Ultimately.
It definitely has. Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, we're off consoles. And then another thing that Goat mentioned in chat, which I remember talking about fairly recently. This is obviously true. Good players can make more money just as a content creator and way less stressful than participating in the CDL. This is also true too. The best CDL team in the world is not composed of the best Call of Duty players in the world. I guarantee it. The best Call of Duty players would rather just be streamers. Yeah. Play whenever they want. Don't have to do scrims for 12 hours a day. Don't have to live in some content house. Don't have to travel to LANs and have all that stress for a championship prize pool of what? 250,000 divided by 5 people. I mean, that's good money. It's 50K.
And then you have to give 90% of what you earned to your
and
org.
Yeah. You have to pay the org and then you have to pay taxes. It's like it, and that's only for the one team that wins. Is it worth it to do that? All of that when you could just be a streamer and make $50,000 a month? No,
yeah, it's like,
of course not. No, it's not worth it. Like, look at who won World Series Warzone? Biffle, right?
Biffle won. Yeah, it's like Biffle in like one day makes more money than CDL players do an entire year off earnings. Granted, they do have salaries too. They have like small salaries, but like that's one tournament.
Yeah,
that's one tournament, right? And he's winning that much money, and then also all the other little tournaments throughout the year. Yeah, it's
plus just his stream. How many subs does he have? How many donations? How many bits?
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Thousands of subs. Yeah,
and then here's the question. Now. Do you think Biffle could do pretty well in the CDL?
Of course he could. Hey, a lot of CDL players always think they can't. I constantly see that argument. CDL players are always like maybe Biffle could compete, but he wouldn't even be close to a top player in the league. And it's like, they think he doesn't have the skill set. I'm sorry. I'll never agree with them and I'll never fully understand their reasoning. But I think being the best Warzone player in the world is way more skillful than being the best CDL player in the world. Maybe that's a hot take for CDL players, but they act like there's so much strategy. You sit there and hold an angle and wait for some guy to run around the corner. How do you think Biffle would not be able to do that? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And
you literally sit there and hold an angle.
Yes.
It's not that hard. So much more thought goes into playing Warzone, so much more strategy over the length of the match. And sure, I'm not talking about just pubs. Yes, like him playing against awful players in pubs is one thing, but he's winning custom tournaments every single week against the other best Warzone players in the world. So it's like, I will never understand or agree with that argument, and it's insane that people actually think that. A good Warzone player is way, way, way more skilled than a good CDL player.
1,000% true. Obviously true. Yeah, I mean, if you just think about it, it's like, dude, by the time the first CDL LAN event happens, every single player playing has played on every single map, in every single mode, from every single spawn possible. Once you have done enough scrimming, which they all do, scrimmaging, then the play space is static. It's the same every time. Okay, we're playing LSELO control. I spawned this side. I've done this 1,000 times. I know exactly what to do and where to go and how this is going to play. Every time. It's way less dynamic and reactive than Warzone. In Warzone, that's never true. You're playing on the same big map, sure, but that is not the same as multiplayer. So yeah, the point is, Biffle could easily be in the CDL if he wanted to be, but he doesn't want to be because he can just make more money streaming and playing Warzone.
Way more money. He would take a massive pay cut if he went to the CDL.
100%. And it's way less stressful. So how many other players are out there like Biffle? How many other how many of the best Call of Duty players does the CDL just not have? Probably quite a few, honestly. And when you look at another like competitive league, like basketball, for example, how many of the best basketball players in the world are not in the NBA? I'll give you an answer. 0. None. Literally none, right? If you're the best basketball player in the world, you're in the NBA because that's where you make the most money doing it. That's just not true for the best Call of Duty player in the world and CDL. So that's another reason that I think CDL is falling off, because that was back in 2013. If you were the best Call of Duty player in the world, you would make the most money by participating in the CDL. That's just not true anymore. So that would be another reason that the CDL is falling off. They don't have the best players anymore. Now, granted, they're not bad. I mean, CDL players are still really good, but they're not the best of the best anymore. It's just, it doesn't make sense to be in the CDL if you are a good Call of Duty player.
Yeah, so I was looking. Shifty was the other one. There were, because like people say like Biffle could compete in the CDL, and then there was talk of Shifty could also probably compete, and all the CDL kids were mad at that. They're like, no, he couldn't. He would never last in the CDL. This, that, like.
Yeah, those people are stupid.
Hey, he plays scrims for 2 or 3 months, and he's as good or better than half of them. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, 100%. So anyway. Yeah, I do wonder what's going on with the CDL, though. But I've speculated the last time we talked about this at any length. I think I said in about 10 years or so, there will not be a CDL anymore. And I stand by that. I don't think CDL is going away like next. I don't think this is like the last year or anything. But I think it's eventually just not going to be. The juice will eventually not be worth the squeeze. And keep in mind, like Activision, again, at one point was making $3 million per day in microtransactions. Why go through all the labor of having a league when you're just making so much cash by hiring some guy for your art department and paying him $50,000 a year to make bundles that will make you $3 million per day?
Yep.
I mean, the ROI on how much they pay the people on their team, their art team that designs operator skins and weapon blueprints, how much is the salary for the entire art department across all Activision studios that creates bundles in the store? I don't know. Not very much. Not very much. I'd be surprised if it was over $10 million. For all of those employees per year. I'd be shocked if it was over $10 million. I'd be surprised if it was over $5 million. Meanwhile, they're making $3 million per day on the backs of those people's labor. Now, I'm not making a communism point here. Let me be clear. That's like not what I'm doing. It did sound that way. That's why I want to say that. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is the return on investment there, we can just do the math. It's absurd. You pay a cent and you get like $20,000 per cent you pay on your microtransaction income. That's crazy ROI. They are certainly not getting that from the CDL. So eventually, I think that trend is just going to continue and they'll stop doing it. Why would they? I can just hire more people for the art department and sell more store bundles instead.
Abolish the CDL. Yeah.
It's just like, you have a budget. If I could spend $1 here and make literally $15,000 off of it, or I can spend $1 here and make $300 off of it, what am I going to do as Activision? Obviously, I'm going to take the bigger ROI. So, yeah, I think eventually the CDL goes away, frankly. But anyway.
Yeah, next little thing here. I just thought this was hilarious, so I had to point it out. I don't know why this was randomly tweeted if it's brand new, but a leaker, Forward Leaks, tweeted out the there's an Infinity Ward QA tester calling card.
I love that it's specifically iDub too.
And it says Infinity Ward QA. And I just thought this was the most hilarious thing. I would use an unlock tool if I could have that calling card. I would risk getting permanently banned if I could run the Infinity Ward QA calling card on my account. God damn it, would that be hilarious?
Yeah. This calling card is quite literally more rare than the #1 multiplayer ranked play competitor in season 2 of MW2. I'm not kidding. This calling card is more rare than that one. Now, you might respond by saying, but wait, Raz, there's only exactly one calling card for the #1 competitor of MW2 Season 2 multiplayer ranked. And I would say, yeah, That's true. There is only one, but there is a rarer calling card. It is Infinity Ward QA Tester, because there are 0 of them. There are none. They're a PSYOP. They don't have a QA department. They have a psychological operations department where they conduct psychological warfare on their consumer base. There isn't an IDub QA tester. This calling card is again, this is part of the PSYOP. This Forward Leaks guy, he got paid a duffel bag full of cash to tweet this. And this is not a real calling card that's in the game, actually, because no one has it. There's no IDub QA testers. This is hilarious, though. I saw that you retweeted this, and I laughed.
Yeah, it was,
This is the most rare thing of all time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anyways.
By the way, if I saw someone in game with the IDub clan tag and this calling card, I would get my account banned by DMing them, talking in lobby chat, prox chatting, of course, shooting bodies, teabagging, spamming with friend requests to further DM them, spamming, inviting them to groups. The level of harassment I would engage in on this individual would be unheard of. It would be unheard of because they would deserve it. So anyway,
but that person doesn't exist anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's exactly correct.
About as a ghost.
That's a fake person. Yeah, this is that's of course true. So
next little thing here, we got a little fun little symphony clip.
Yeah, we'll preview this little number here.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on in Warzone, but the spin botters are back.
The spin botters are indeed back.
We've got a clip of a spin bot here that I don't think I've even seen since Verdansk, actually.
This is Verdansk level spin botting, yeah. So this is a clip from Symphony's broadcast, and I'm showing it on the video podcast.
Yeah, so it's like this guy is not even aiming at him. He's shooting in the air, spinning in circles, not aiming at anything, and the bullets are...
It's like a bullet magnetism cheat, yeah.
And I'm dead serious. I have not seen that since Verdansk, actually. So,
that is literally spin botting. He's spinning in a 360, shooting his gun, not aiming at anything, but he's still getting every single bullet to reg. This is like unironically, literally spin botting. Yeah.
So there was another clip I had seen like the same day from somebody else that also died to a spin botter. I couldn't find that one because the Symphony one I'd already liked. But yeah, that's been, again, the cheating situation has been a hot topic.
Yes.
Let's be super clear. There are so many people whiling on the TL that say Warzone cheating situation has never been worse. Don't listen to that person.
Those people
seriously did not play in Verdansk if they genuinely think that. True. They're either just baiting people because they're mad, or they didn't play in Verdansk. It's one of those two things. Because it's not even close to what it was. But still, like, granted, this guy spin botting is level 3, and he probably did immediately get banned. But like, what are we doing? How are people even launching these cheats and even doing this for a second?
Yeah.
There just has to be some way that the game can detect you're not aiming at somebody whatsoever, but still killing them with bullets, right? Like, there's just got to be a way. I don't know, man. I will never understand any of this.
I won't either.
By any sort of anti-cheat.
Yeah. Kernel level anti-cheat Ricochet, by the way. What a joke. I saw a tweet recently. I think it was because of this discourse, because a lot of people are saying cheating is really bad right now in COD. Which in Warzone rather, which, maybe that's true. Someone tweeted like, listen, I don't know why we don't have a better anti-cheat, because the best anti-cheat right now, the tweet said, is of course Riot and their Valorant. Wait, is it Riot? No, it's Valve, right? I don't know, whatever. Valorant.
No,
whoever makes Valorant, they have the best anti-cheat that I've ever seen for any video game ever. It just works. And you just can't cheat.
Everything.
You cannot cheat in Valorant. It's just not possible. And again, if you turn off the cheat program and then try to play Valorant, not only will it make you start the cheat program or the anti-cheat program, it'll make you restart your computer. That's how invasive it is. And the guy in the tweet said, yeah, people complain about the like invasiveness or intrusiveness of the Valorant anti-cheat, but I would take that in a second because of how effective it is at stopping cheaters in that game. And I don't know how not everyone is like on this team, in this boat. And I don't know why Activision well, I kind of do know why. Activision will never do this, I don't think, because they could do it, to be clear. It would be more invasive, to be clear. Some people would complain about that, for sure.
A lot of people would, yeah.
And that's why they won't do it, because with how many cheaters there are now, they're still making so much money that they're like, why would we court controversy and make the anti-cheat more invasive and effective if we can just not do that and still make all the money we're making right now? So there won't ever be a Valorant level anti-cheat in Warzone. And I wish there would be, but it's just never going to happen. They're not going to do it. And Valorant also is like a more competitive geared game. Like that game is made to be played
That's
for
all
ranked.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
it
true.
kind of makes sense for that reason. But I will also add the cheating situation is not as bad as it was in Verdansk. I don't think it ever will be that bad. And now what we have, I think, are kind of ebbs and flows with relation to cheaters, which honestly isn't good, but it's way better than we had before Ricochet. Ricochet does do something. It's just not as much as I would like it to do. But basically now what it seems like is it's very cyclical. Like there will be 2 months where like there are basically no cheaters. Like I don't see any. And then there will be like a month or 6 weeks where there are just a ton of cheaters. Like that's where we are now. And then Ricochet is going to, update their software or whatever. And then we'll be back to like no cheaters for a while. And that's not great, but it's better than what we did have. But anyway, the point is there are a lot of people cheating right now. And the fact that this egregious of cheating is even possible is crazy. You don't need an invasive anti-cheat like Valorant to stop spin botting like that. That is the question I have. How is it not possible that this is not put to an end immediately? Yep. I mean, what are we doing?
And people still like, you can't even make the invasive argument anymore because like, sure, in like 2004 maybe, but it's like you have a cell phone in your pocket, you listening 16 hours a day that tracks everywhere you go and also listens to you because you can say, hey Siri, and it listens to you, right? So it's always like, that's just how they work. Like mine just turned on because I said that, right? So if you actually think that one of these anti-cheats would be more invasive than your cell phone that you own, you're not all there. There's something seriously wrong with you. So yeah, that needs to stop. It's no more invasive than your cell phone. I don't believe it. So cool. We need better anti-cheats.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, sniff all my kernels. I don't care. Yeah.
It's like Tarkov's anti-cheat is not kernel level. I don't know what it's there
isn't one. So.
It's easy. No, it's not easy anti-cheat. It's
Punkbuster?
What is it called? No, Punkbuster has not existed for years, buddy. I don't think it still exists. No.
I thought Battlefield still used it.
No, they use easy anti-cheat. Battle Eye is what Tarkov uses. I don't know what Battle Eye is, but it's not a good anti-cheat because players can literally suck up vacuum loot from the whole map without moving their character and fill their backpack with it. So, things like that game could use a kernel level anti-cheat as well, but
it certainly could, yeah.
Ricochet definitely works, but people shouldn't be able to spin bot ever.
Yeah.
Of course.
The most basic of anti-cheats should be able to detect that. Like you said, you're not aiming at anyone and the bullet still regs. Like there's got to be some kind of basic basic ass software that figures that out pretty quick. But
yeah,
I guess not. So anyway.
So yeah, next little thing here. We actually should have covered this on Thursday, but I forgot to put it in there. But Charlie Intel had pointed out that the official Activision support site now refers to players that are shadow banned as being limited matchmaking.
Whoa.
Until the account has been reviewed for potential violations. So it used to say like, I don't remember what it showed exactly, but it was basically like temporarily banned, like you are not able to matchmake until we've reviewed your account or something, blah, blah. But I'm just kind of wondering if maybe this has something to do with how they said they're going to be discussing their matchmaking system in the coming weeks. So maybe they're making like some back-end changes now, because shadow bans and skill-based matchmaking do kind of go hand in hand somewhat, because like shadow ban, you kind of get put in shadow ban lobbies because of the way the matchmaking works, so blah, blah. So, I mean, maybe even with their matchmaking system, they're going to mention shadow bans. It's very possible. Who knows? But just wanted to point that out. They're making little quiet changes on the back end there that, may eventually lead to something bigger that we hear about. So, and they said that, I think a month ago now, they said in the coming weeks, and we've still heard nothing about this, about the whole matchmaking system. So there's no way they're just not going to say anything, because people are going to continue to point it out.
I don't know.
You think?
I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
When did they say that we're going to talk about SBMM?
Let's see.
Was this like November?
No, I think it was December.
Okay. Maybe
no, it was November 30th. They said in the coming weeks is exactly what they said.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads to anything. Yeah.
It's been a lot of weeks since then. Now, to be fair, 2 of them were Christmas break, but it's still been 4 weeks of work. It's still been 4 work weeks. Maybe even 5, honestly, since that statement. And yeah, people are starting to get a little antsy. I've seen a couple tweets lately. It's not like blown up yet, but I've seen I've probably like 4 tweets from people being like, hey, remember they said they were going to talk about SBMM? They haven't yet. Is that still happening? Or are they just not going to? I don't know where I land on that. I think eventually they will, but if they don't do it, I think we either hear about it by March or we never hear about it at all, basically. But it would be very weird for them to put out a statement saying they're going to talk about it and then just not. I don't know what to think of that, but that is pretty curious. I don't know. So, next thing here, this is kind of our last topic on the kind of somewhat related to the cheating situation. There is a lot of buzz going around, and this has been for a couple weeks actually, relating to audio tuning, audio software. We've talked about this a couple times recently. So one example is on the roundtable. We talked about SteelSeries Sonar, which is an application you can download on PC, and it adds a virtual audio device to your computer, and it has its own frequency tuning such that the idea is you can hear enemy footsteps more easily. This is not possible to do on console, obviously, but it is possible to do on PC. And a lot of people are using that in FPS games. Not just Call of Duty, by the way. Like some Tarkov streamers talk about using it. And to me, this seems perfectly fine, but to others, not so much. But there are other things that people do as well. And one of the popular ones right now is from this guy, Art is War, Change It, on Twitter. He's a real weirdo lunatic that I do not like at all. He says a lot of weird things on Twitter. And he was the one I made fun of when I said he will post clips on his Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Where he is unironically proud of how good the audio sounds in Warzone as he's getting pushed and then dies in the clip. And he effectively is saying, hey, look, guys, look how good my audio tune is. It's so good that I heard this guy 30 seconds before he came and just ran through me because I'm bad. Even though I heard the guy coming from my Pro Tune, I still couldn't stop him from killing me. And I'm going to clip it to show you how good the audio tune is. You should, I mean, hey, at least wait until you kill the guy that pushes you before you show off your Pro Tune. It's just, it's so funny to brag about a clip where you get farmed in it. I still can't believe that's real, but really funny. Anyway, he has this little like Pro Tune video package or whatever. I don't really know the details of it because I haven't done it, but a lot of people in our community have done it. And basically he has like an hour-long YouTube video. You watch the YouTube video and follow his instructions. And again, this is only possible on computer. And if you do all of the things he recommends you do, I don't know what he recommends because I'm not watching a 1-hour video on how to maybe hear footsteps audio in Warzone, because you still won't be able to hear zip lines. I guarantee it. I don't know what the details are of the video, but evidently a lot of people think that following all of his steps and implementing all of his audio tuning recommendations does in fact make your audio clarity better in Warzone. And further, you will be able to hear people that without having done the tuning, you would not have otherwise been able to hear. So, on the back of that, and this has been getting pretty popular, some people are now getting mad that some people are doing this. And here's a tweet from Jax at the Big Jax COD. I don't know who this is, but it was tweeted 2 days ago and it had 50,000 views.
He was a wager kid in Caldera. He's very good. He doesn't really play a whole lot anymore, but he was like one of the highest wager earnings in Caldera.
So he's a wall hacker. Got it. He said, Art is War ruined Warzone and nobody wants to just come out and say it. I just hope you all realize he ruined the game. Praying emoji for some reason. Doesn't make any sense there. That makes no sense. He's there, super but okay.
Funny. I think you already followed it. You already follow him. It's his name is Hojax is what it used to be. He's very
that
very
sounds
funny.
Familiar.
He's hilarious. He's got some banger tweets. But anyways,
interesting.
Yeah. So that's kind of been the thing. There are a lot of people coming out now and saying like in tournaments they should not allow this basically. Which like I kind of get, but it's like, I mean, you can never enforce that anyways. The thing is too, it's like, again, I've never done this Pro Tune and I never will. I would rather die 1,000 times to someone I didn't hear than ever install any of this on my computer or do it. Let's be super clear.
Yeah.
But it's like Jake, he uses just sonar and the flex perk. He simply installed Sonar on his computer, which is a SteelSeries application that can change your audio profiles. And he claims he hears everything fine. And even in his clips, it sounds really good too. So like when things like that exist, I don't know why you would do all of this. But anyways, so that's been the biggest thing.
By the way, do you know what Art is War his tune entails? Do you know
I think
any
you
details
install
about
a program or two, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So similar to Sonar then. Okay. Yeah.
But it's like you install, it's not like a plug and play system. Like Sonar, you download it and click the button that says FPS footsteps. This is like install this audio device, install this source,
do
change
like
this here,
edits.
do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like all sorts of things. You may even have to change something like in the game files. I'm not sure how that works exactly. But yeah, so now people are like saying that in tournaments and stuff, this should not be allowed at all. Like Scummin just tweeted mid-pod actually, which was funny that he said this. He said, are we going to ban art audio in things for money or what?
Listen, Scummin, you guys can't even ban wall hacks in your tournaments. You think you're going to be able to ban this? Stop. Mm-hmm. What are we doing? So first of all, I think this conversation is dumb. If you're a competitive Warzone player and you're competing for money, you're doing it from a computer. Or at least you ought to be. And if you're not, that's your fault. You're missing out on a lot more than just the ability to audio tune. If you're playing on console, you're also missing out on more frames potentially. Well, that's actually kind of it. But still, if you're a competitive player, you're probably playing on PC. And anyone who can afford a console can also afford a PC. So if you're playing, so like for casuals, I kind of get it, because a lot of casuals are like, I don't want to buy a PC. I want to buy a console. It's easy. Mm-hmm. And if I miss out on this competitive advantage, that's unfair. Yeah, you're right. Actually, it is unfair. But also, if you're a casual playing on console, you're not competing for money anyway. So there are a lot of things that are unfair. By that logic, you would have to ban PCs, because PCs, for even outside of the audio tune, again, can push way more frames than 120, which is the max that a console's going to get you. So like, you're already at a competitive disadvantage, even if we do ban the audio tunes, even if that were possible. So that argument I just set aside. So if it does offer a competitive advantage, it doesn't really matter that much to me, because everyone playing for money is playing on a PC.
Exactly.
Or should be. Therefore, everyone who's complaining about this could just use it themselves. And then we wouldn't have to worry about enforcing something that is unenforceable.
If it's that much better, just use it yourself. That's what I always say.
We see that. That's what people, when we complain about aim assist, that's what they all say. And here's what I would reply to that, by the way. Hey, buddy, if I were competing for money, you bet your sweet ass I would be playing on a controller. Duh. I would switch to controller if I was playing for money, if I wanted the competitive advantage. You're right. However, I'm not that try hard or whatever. I'm not competing for money, so I'm happy to just keep playing on keyboard and mouse. But the same argument would apply, and I would agree. I'd be like, yeah, if you're playing in World Series of Warzone, you should be doing it on a controller. Duh. Because that's where you get the best competitive advantage, and it's not like I can't afford a controller. So I would do that, in fact. And I would say the same thing here. If you think this is so good that it should be banned, just use it yourself instead, because you can't ban it. It's not going to be possible. Yeah. Another thing I would say is, if in fact this does help you hear things that you wouldn't otherwise hear, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. If it is true, let's just assume it's true. That is Activision's fault. Hey, I shouldn't need to watch a literal 1-hour YouTube tutorial on how to hear someone running up to me in your first-person shooter game that you claim is competitive. This is all Activision's fault. Hey, make your audio better by default, and then people won't have to do all this goofy stuff.
Yeah.
I hate it. This is Activision's fault. All of this infighting, this community infighting, is Activision's fault. And it's all misplaced, because there's one team saying, stop using Art as War. And there's another team saying, which we're on, basically, just use Art of War yourself if you think it's so good. Hey, we're all missing the point here. We need to unite and direct our anger at Raven and say, hey man, add some freaking audio to the zip line and the parachute and the footstep. Duh. That's the real problem. That's the root core issue. Yeah, you really shouldn't need any audio things to be able to hear people. So
yeah, it's embarrassing that
it's really shameful and embarrassing.
Yes. But that's always been a COD thing. Everyone used filters in Warzone 1 too.
Yep. The filters, yeah.
So kind of what it comes, so I pulled up his video just to look at the description to see. There are actually like 5 or 6 things you download, it looks like.
That's insane. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah. Of course not. Yeah, I don't care that much.
Yeah.
So that's, like console players would also argue that this is like an unfair advantage because they can't do any of that, which means it could kind of be considered like cheating basically. But again, if it's that much better than just buy a PC and do it yourself, it's not that hard.
Yeah,
right?
if that's cheating, then me pushing more than 120 FPS is also cheating, which is dumb. It's an absurd statement. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's also been more rumors going around. Who knows if any of these are true, but people are now saying after installing all of his audio softwares, they have been banned from certain video games. And as a reminder, he's the one last year that made those visual filters for Tarkov that Tarkov immediately banned because you added something into the game files or just the files on your PC. And Battlestate Games, who does not ever communicate with a community at all, never, they tweeted out, it was called DWM LUT. DWM_LUT. They tweeted out, it is officially blocked due to the large number of uses of specific filters to obtain an unfair advantage. If you are having problems launching the game, remove it from your PC. Otherwise, the game will be unavailable. And then they say they weren't issuing bans for that, but using any similar program in the future will be considered a breach in the terms of service and result in a ban. So then this kind of does lead you into thinking like, well, should COD consider anything like this cheating? Because again, I don't know how it works. Somebody in the chat has probably done this. Do you edit game files at all? Do you edit anything in the game files, or is it just installing audio programs onto your computer? Because I don't know if these Tarkov ones were like installed in the files or how that worked. But yeah, so that kind of makes me wonder about that. And then this guy Braxton, who's a Warzone player, is kind of talking about this as well with Scumming and all that. And he claims another Warzone player, Finessin, got banned on Tarkov after he did this audio settings guide. And he said he had the Tarkov account for 3 years and had played on it every day for the last year. And after he did these audio changes for Warzone, his Tarkov account got banned.
Whoa.
So I'm not sure there's a correlation there. Again, I don't know if any of this is even true. It's just stuff on Twitter, but it's like, I don't think these kids are just lying about it. So that's something. It's like, could people installing this, because there's been a huge discussion about shadow bans recently, and there have been a ton of people doing this audio thing. I wonder if this is triggering things like shadow bans as well.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because installing 5 different things, and I don't know what's actually running. I don't know how many like executables that is. But if you're running like two other like audio programs while you're playing the game, I can definitely see that a game's anti-cheat software could consider that a little weird, maybe.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
How would that work in Valorant? Would Valorant like insta-ban you for running something like that,
Good question. Yeah. I think if you're manipulating the game itself, I think it would be cheating. So for example, if there were a program I could run where I run it, and while it's running, it looks at Call of Duty, the application, and every time enemy footstep sound is playing, it just boosts that sound by 500% every time it happens in game. Well, now we're like editing the video game and manipulating how loud footsteps are in that way using a program. That I would consider cheating, because you're manipulating like the game files. And this would be the same as wall hacking, because like you're manipulating the game files to be able to see someone even though there's a building in front of you. It's like the same kind of thing. But like SteelSeries Sonar, it doesn't do that. It just adds a virtual audio device, and then that audio device has its own tuning. So it will just increase the volume of a certain frequency band of sounds. So like from 5,000 to 6,000 hertz, it will make those sounds louder. That's not manipulating the video game itself. It's manipulating your audio in a way that is helpful in a video game. So if footsteps occur at 5,500 hertz, they would be boosted, but it's not by virtue of manipulating the game itself. So I think those are different.
Yeah.
But are they actually? Is that different? Because the outcome's kind of the same, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, did I just change my own mind? Huh.
I think little bro just changed his own mind.
Oh,
yeah.
no. Because the outcome is the same if it does work that way, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just don't know if you're running executable files with his at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're either running an executable file and or have edited actual COD game files, then I can definitely see that triggering anti-cheats in Call of Duty and then other games, maybe something as well. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, all of the like competitive kids want this banned now from custom tournaments and everything, but they're all the ones that installed it themselves. So it's like, well, you guys are all using it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you could use it and still want it banned because you don't want to have to use it. I think that's a consistent enough position. But the reason I don't think it should be banned now, I'm not watching an hour YouTube video to be informed on this topic. I don't care enough. So sorry. But if I did, I would have a stronger opinion one way or another if I did know all the details. However, with that said, the reason I ultimately don't think it should be banned is a practical one, which is that you can't enforce this. If you ban it, then all you're doing is you are punishing honest players who want to follow the rules, and you know that there will be other people who still use it, even though it's banned. So if you did ban it, because it's unenforceable, you would only be punishing honest players who don't cheat.
Yeah.
So if it were enforceable, I may have a different position on it, but it's not. They can't even enforce banning wall hacks in tournaments for money or aimbotting. So let's cross that bridge first before we try and ban audio tuning tutorials. I mean, obviously. So because it's unenforceable, I don't think it should be banned. And everyone who is competing has the opportunity to use this themselves. So whatever. And it is materially different also than wall hacking or aimbotting also.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's not kid ourselves. Maybe it is. Maybe I could be convinced that it is like gaining an unfair advantage, but it's not nearly as powerful as wall hacks or aimbotting. It doesn't like take away from player skill in the way that wall hacks or aimbotting really, really does. Or at least not nearly to the same degree. So because it's unenforceable, I don't think it should be banned, but it is cringe. If it is as effective as people think it is, then it's cringe that as a competitive player, you are forced to sit through a 1 hour registry editing tutorial to just be able to compete. That does suck. Yeah, I understand the frustration there, but you know, if you're competing, you're going to have to do it. So,
yeah. So it's like, you know, could Activision at some point deem something like they ban something like this? I can't see a company like them ever doing that.
Yeah.
Where they would ban some sort of audio device from their game because it's an unfair advantage. You're playing Call of Duty. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's the most casual shooter on the market.
Yeah. And none of this would be relevant if Activision just made the audio better.
Yeah. And it's like bad players that are like complaining about like PC getting advantages like that. You're dying to that guy either way if you're that bad and complaining about something like that, right? You're not going to win that gunfight to begin with. Whether or not that guy heard you from 50 meters or 10 meters, you are still dead. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We will be back on Thursday for a nice little analysis of Season 1 Reloaded. And we don't know exactly what we're getting with Season 1 Reloaded. We have a good idea based on the blog post we've gotten, but now there's going to be a dedicated mode at some point for the Covert Exfils and weapons cases. So we will have more details on that for next episode. And We will also get more
Warzone.
details on particular weapon balancing changes we're going to be getting. And don't forget Ted Timmons' mystery quality of life update that he's very excited about. We're going to be getting that also probably on this update, and maybe other things that were not mentioned in the blog post. So we're going to go over all those details next week. Keep your eyes on the schedule for that. And also, let us know your thoughts on today's episode if you enjoyed this structure or if you didn't. And further, if you have used Art is War's little audio tune, tell us what that entails exactly. Because I'm not watching an hour YouTube video, but I am curious what exactly is done at the end of that. So if you've done it, let us know, and let us know if it's effective as well. Because I think a lot of it's probably placebo effect, frankly. But I could be wrong, so let us know. That's it. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching and listening. Stay humble.
Double.